All right, so we left off.
Yeah, what were you guys saying during the break? What were you guys?
We're gonna go back to that.
We'll go back.
That was juicy.
It was good. It was good.
We're
That
gonna
was
go back to
good,
that.
guys. All right, fine.
So we're back from break. We've been going for about 50 minutes,
Yep.
and we left off roughly when you were about 18.
Yeah, 18.
So what was your, I guess from 18 to like?
Yeah. So at that point,
You're 30 now, right?
no, I'm 40.
Oh,
41.
I'm horrible at telling ages.
Yeah. No,
So-
don't worry. Like you thought Jackie was 20 or something.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
She's 50 years old. That's right. We fool a lot of people. You know, everyone thinks I'm like 20 years old right
You
now.
look like you're 12.
Especially if I shave this. I know. See, even now.
The hair
makes
helps,
fun of
too.
me.
The
Yeah,
hair helps.
The whole full head of hair.
Find you a bald
Omar.
A bald
I
Omar.
will find one.
I'm telling you, there's got to be something. Maybe I just saw him.
They're there.
Maybe,
We'll
yeah,
find
yeah.
one.
Maybe you saw it.
Sorry.
Like, oh, that's who I'm meeting. That guy that I saw a picture of. So, 18. Okay, so this what happened here was right around my senior year. Actually, my parents divorced, right?
Okay.
And it was pretty bad. My mother met my stepfather, and I kind of like resented her about it for a little bit, thinking, but I understand now 100%. I'm fully supportive of like her decision because my dad wasn't really doing much.
But at the time, it was more so you were like,
But at the time it was like, she was leaving it and like messing up the family,
Yep,
and
yep.
like I blamed her for
Yep,
it, but no, I like apologized to her. I think I did, or maybe I should, but I did like resent her about it for a little bit, and then right after I graduated, my mom, she divorced, she left. She actually started working with Rosie O'Donnell. Remember Rosie O'Donnell?
Really?
As a housekeeper. My aunt was working for her, and then brought my mom.
In New Jersey.
No, in Florida.
Oh, in
Star
Florida.
So she lived in-
Islands.
in
She
Star
lived in
Island.
Star Island.
She lived in
Oh,
Star
wow.
Island.
That's
Yeah, she did.
crazy.
She lived in a little house in there, and then my dad retired and went to Uruguay. So I like
What's your
was on
mom's
my
name?
own.
What's your mom's
Rosa.
name?
Rosa.
Your mom's name's Rosa?
Rosa. Yeah.
she worked with
so-
Rosie.
So Rosie O'Donnell, when you hear this podcast, definitely share it and give us a little shout out.
Yeah.
And then my dad, he got up and left and went to Uruguay. So I kind of just stayed on my own, and some of my friends came in and roomed with me in the house. That lasted for maybe about a year.
Where were you?
I think I was married.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
no.
Was
Wait,
married.
you
Out of
you
the
were married.
house.
No, you were married. Oh no, around the same time, you divorced, and then
Me
you
and my
started-
mom both divorced at the same,
Same time, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And my dad was really mad at her because he's like, your mom's divorced me and you're divorced. Like, it's like, oh, you're all the
She
same,
didn't
right?
talk to me for a year.
Yeah.
For a
So,
whole year.
so I think, and I was dating my girlfriend at the time, and I was just like a young love, puppy love type of thing, and that went on for about a year and a half.
I was waiting for you to say something smart.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
it was a disaster. It was, and I was like so jealous, and because she was, a good-looking girl, and she was just out of her mind too, and
Careful.
Okay.
Careful.
Be careful.
yeah, and that was like, but that was like 20 years ago, so it's like another lifetime ago. But
Good save. Good
yeah,
save.
So it's like whatever. Hey, you guys asked this, and it's coming up. You're getting all this trash now, right? Eventually, I just couldn't manage being on my own, and then my mom ended up coming back because she married my stepfather, and I moved in with them at that time at about 20. They ended up moving to Pennsylvania, and I went with them for about a couple of years. So from 2002, I moved in with my mom and my stepdad. My stepbrother came into my life because he was living in Peru with his mom, and then he came over. And then we all moved to Pennsylvania till about 2007. So at that time, that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to move back to Jersey. There wasn't really much going on there. It was a very slow-paced kind of area. Didn't see much was going on. And then, so Jackie actually got me a job working with her at this bar, bartending at a sports bar somewhere.
Why did you were going to go to the Air Force?
Oh, I
remember?
was going to go to Air Force, and then they talked me out of it. And then, yeah, she really didn't want me to go. My aunt didn't want me to go.
Why was that? Why did you want him to go?
I was scared, I guess. I didn't want anything to happen to him.
Oh, just like the
That was
real basic, just like going
Yeah.
to war. You don't want him to
Yeah.
go. Okay, I got you. Yeah, yeah.
But then also what turned me off, which was like, my aunt told me, hey, wait till like after the election and stuff like that and see what happens. I'm like, all right. And that's when I told the recruiter, I'm like, I'm going to wait for a little while. And then he was like, no, you're not. You're not waiting for a while. I'm going to come pick you up. I'm going to come with the sheriff to your door and pick you up. And I'm like, really? That's what you're going to be? All right, fuck you. I ain't going.
Yeah.
And then that turned me off completely. And then he got his superior on the line, and he was talking to me. He was a really sharp guy. He's like, hey, we're just trying to help you. It sounded very sneaky. Like
Yeah, you gotta watch those recruiters.
yeah.
Trust me.
So I could smell it. I was like, oh, they're just fucking just terrible.
That sucks. That
And then-
sucks. That
and then-
you know what I mean? That he got that. Because there are great recruiters out there.
I know. I
Yeah,
honestly
you know.
like
There
truly
is.
though. It's just like a thing that in the military, like recruiters are like
Yeah.
they it's like a running joke. But I honestly had an awesome recruiter,
Mhm.
and my military experience, we're not going to get into right now, but it's been definitely up and down. So
Yeah,
it's just interesting. you know?
It's just, and that's why I say about everybody, right? It doesn't matter what group you're part of, what where you're employed, what political party you're part of, what religious group you pray with, right? They all have the same groups of people, which is good people, bad people,
Oh, bro, I
and the
was
worst.
just gonna say that to you, bro. Yeah.
and that run. So that's how you
Yeah.
can, we're identifying people in in the wrong boxes, right? Like race or religion or sexual identity. No, it's good, bad, and ugly. They're in everything, right?
Mhm.
And my profession is not an exception, right? Church is an exception. Even doctors, right? They take the Hippocratic oath. Some evil doctors. They're just in it for the money. So yeah, recruiting. Same thing. They're not special, right? They have some good, terrible people in there. But that's what I came across and realized. I'm like, oh, because I really did want to go and I was gonna wait, but that was maybe like a
That
test.
was your, yeah.
And I was like,
that's all you
if
need
I
to see.
go, I'm not gonna go because of you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
fuck you. I'm gonna find another recruiter.
Yeah,
right? That's how
exactly.
kind of it
Yep,
was.
yep.
But so I didn't go, and then Jackie was like, come and work with me. I started working with her, and then I was doing that, and then I met my.
Remember when you used to crump?
I did. I don't know why we got to bring that up now.
We could actually, if you want, I could turn the camera angle.
That's all I remember.
We could play a beat right now and get
so
you going.
my
if you
neck
need.
and back are jacked up. There's no way I could crop right.
I was his
I
only
think it-
fan.
yeah, she was.
So you were a big stomp the yard guy. Let me just
Stop
throw that
the
out
yard.
there.
I don't know if you know tie dyes. He was in Stomp the Yard.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's just amazing. I still love the guy.
Was Chris Brown in Stomp the Yard?
He was, yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
Stomped the
yeah.
Yard.
Died like so quick.
I know,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
That's
He was the
part of
main
it.
character. That's right. But he was like the
He
drive
was the brother.
behind.
Yeah,
you know, the whole,
He was the brother that died, and then the brother was like getting revenge.
Exactly,
kinda
yeah,
like,
yep,
Great
yep.
movie.
yeah. But tie dyes was he was the guy that took the shirt off, and he did like amazing moves. And
You remember him with his shirt off, huh?
yeah, I do, man. Because I was like, oh, that guy's freaking great. That's what he does. And then I met my ex. So be ready for that story. So I met my ex.
What was she like? No.
Oh, man. It'll probably come up. But no,
We wish
I'm
her
not saying
well.
anything. I'm not saying anything negative.
No,
but
no, of course,
we
yeah.
all have our good and bad, and
Yep.
we were just like oil and water, and it was good. But we had my first son when I was. His name is Michael. In 2011, I started working not too long after that. So I was going to school, and I was working at Bob's Discount Furniture, doing really well. It was my first like professional job. I was wearing a suit. I was excited, and doing well. I was going to school for business, and then actually I dropped out on my very last semester. I was about to get my associates. It's funny because I got back to school. I was really gung-ho, and I was taking all the hard classes, and it's like, let's do it. And I was doing them all, and then my last semester, it's funny. I was taking like a science elective, a history class, and something else. And I'm like, oh, these are just simple, easy classes. And then my first day in physics, I opened the book, and I'm like, I'm not learning this shit. Like, get the hell out. I'm going to go back then. Because I was doing well at Bob's. I was like, I'm just going to do that, right? Sell and make $100,000 a year. But then I bought a life insurance policy from Jackie's ex-fiance, right? Because we kept in touch because he was a good guy, right? Other than breaking up with you, he had a lot of demons too. It seemed like, but but I bought a life insurance policy from him. He's like, hey, what are you doing with your life? I'm like, I'm gonna just do this, Bob's, go up the ladder and see what happens. He's like, do you want to do what I do? I'm like, I thought you needed a doctor's degree, right? He was like a life insurance agent, planner type guy. He's like, no, you just got to get a license. I'm like, all right, but look, I'll get it. He's like, you can work with me. I started doing that for a year, working with him in insurance. Then you're exposed to a lot of other things like retirement planning, estate planning, all that stuff. Started getting more licenses, and then I started working for Chase in banking. Learned that part of it, which is insurance is really great because I'm going to get into this, but it's about protection, right? Protecting yourself. Banking is about inflow, right? Of cash flow, right? Where money starts and comes in and leaves, right? And then I started working for 2 other firms, which I think, I don't know if I could say out loud, but
You don't
I'll
have to.
keep it.
Yeah, you don't
So
have
I
to.
started working as an advisor, working in investments and stuff like that, and started getting really deep into financial planning. So that's where I'm at today. A long 40 years.
Yeah.
12 years ago, right around when my son was born, I heard this YouTube video by Joe Dispenza, something about it. It's like, oh my God, like as soon as I was hearing him talk, I'm like, he's talking to me. And I kind of latched onto that. And then I just started kind of throughout the years, just started listening to more and more and more of it and really trying to decipher, because it's a lot, it's good information, and there's parts that I could understand, but there's a lot that kind of just goes over my head, and I was like, I need to understand it all. And I started from there, and then learning from other people too. Jordan Peterson's a really great one.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson's the one I
Bob
saw.
Proctor.
Jordan Peterson said, when I just started kind of like cleaning up my life, I saw something where he said, a human being without a routine is basically like dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he said
need to be moving.
he didn't say that exactly,
Yeah.
but basically that's how I took it.
Yeah, it
and
is.
And so I started like getting a routine, whether it be going for a walk or making breakfast or just something like because I was just doing perks all day, literally.
Yeah.
Right. So I had nothing to do, I had nothing to right. And once I got out of that, once I cleaned up, I'm like, I need I saw that and I was like, wow, he's right, because I'm here. I'm just like dying.
If
I'm not doing
you're
nothing.
laying in the couch doing nothing and looking at TV, you're just rotting away.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's
so,
like-
so energy's gonna go somewhere negative or positive, and it's like you're gonna deteriorate or you're gonna grow.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's saying. And so one of the there's probably a million or infinite ways amount of ways to like better yourself, but routine is definitely one
It's
of them.
huge, man. It's
Right?
huge.
And
It's like
it's simple,
it's
right?
discipline.
One of the things he says is keeping your room clean, right? Keep your room clean. Like you got control over that
making
little
your
box.
bed every day.
Yeah, making your bed every day.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, hey, of course, like, no, I don't think nobody really wants to make their bed. Like,
Yeah,
no.
oh my God,
But if
bro,
you start the day and you're like, hey, I'm gonna overcome that autopilot feeling right from the beginning. Like, oh, there you are. I see you trying to stop me from doing things.
Yeah.
You overcome it. Then that's how your day starts.
I'm waiting for the day that I'm happy to make the bed.
Yeah.
It hasn't clicked for me yet.
And that's
I do it every day. I do make it. But it's still every time I'm like,
yeah. But that's how it comes together, right? Because
Yeah.
there's part of you that's just like it's resisting.
yeah.
It just doesn't want to, and then there's the other part is like, no, we got to.
Yeah.
And then it's like you got to keep dragging it through the mud. But eventually, it'll give up, and then you come together, and now it starts to work. And that's when you find your new autopilot, right?
Yeah.
Your new GPS starts. It's being tracked to the place that you want versus some default easy place, right? Because the easy thing is always the negative, right?
Yep.
That's the easy
It's
choice.
gonna get messy anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm gonna get, you can just go to your head right
oh
away.
yeah, it's gonna I'm gonna do it.
I do it every
whatever.
day, yeah,
Yeah. It's my mom. It's my mom's fault. I can't do the bed. Right?
Yeah,
Who am I gonna
whatever.
blame?
Yeah.
Right. That's easy. It's so easy to fall. The hard part is like first stopping from hearing those, or at least realizing, oh, my brain's just going. It's like the pink elephant. It's just saying stuff. It's programmed. It just turns on. It's always gonna be on, right? It's realizing, oh, it's just doing that. Doesn't just because I have a thought doesn't make it true. And then realize like, okay, I don't have to do that. And actually, what's better than what you got to do is do anything other than what it's trying to tell you. If you do that, you overcome it, right? Let me just do, and the natural thing is like, all right, make the bed, like something that's a net positive, right? Making the bed is good because when you come home, it looks nice and right?
We get into like how
We
you
met?
and I, like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of us, kind of
Yeah,
I've
for
been waiting
sure.
for
got
this.
into. Okay.
I'm waiting for this.
I don't even know the
'Cause, like-
story.
'cause,
I
like,
really
what
don't
you
I'm
were-
not really too familiar. So
Well, what he was getting into is kind of like what we've been working on with me.
yeah, I know you
So-
guys working together, but I don't know how it started. I think you said you had a conversation with Jackie one time. Or something, or you guys were talking, just not in one time, but you guys were talking in general, and then I'm not even sure how Omar got
Yeah.
into the
So
mix. So you guys can.
So I was, I think I was having a pretty hard time, like, in general. Like, I was getting sick a lot, and I was super stressed, and I was, I felt very out of control of my life, and I felt, I just was not in a good place mentally, I think, because there was just a lot going on. So many things were pulling me in different directions, and I don't know. I was talking one day. I maybe you can
Yeah.
remember. I was kind of like all over the place. So
Yeah, I didn't know anything, about what was going on with you, but I could see, and
yeah,
and you did bring something up, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just felt the need.
And at that point, I was talking, I've been talking to Jackie like almost every day about stuff because we've been working on her business. So, talking about communicating, obviously this stuff comes up because it's my new autopilot. Like I just talk about this to everybody actually at work. And, I feel like I just need to now. you
Yeah,
know?
I thought of it, and then, did I mention it to you first, or?
I don't.
I think I think during one of our conversations, you said to me, "I want to introduce you to my brother,"
Yes.
and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
cool."
I just
Like,
felt the it was like the perfect
So
moment.
I
Yeah.
was actually helping her other friend April, who was like in a really bad spot, and we already saw some significant results. I wasn't even expecting anything out of it. I was just like, I think she's like far gone, right? Like 600-pound person, like they might not go to the gym, like I wouldn't, right? If I got to that point, like it takes tremendous amount of effort to change when your grave is so deep,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, but I did, and like I saw like she just changed, right? It was like a whole nother person. And I'm like, I was just like kind of shocked. I was like, but I felt good about it. I'm like, oh my god, all right, maybe there's something that I can do to help people. you know?
yes.
So
I think what was happening to me, like I was on complete autopilot all day,
yeah.
but I was also in like a survival mode. So I was just like trying to, I don't know, like I just wasn't taking care of myself mentally the way that I should have been, and it was affecting everything around me. So
And losing control.
and I was also like letting my autopilot just constantly just go. And then
Because it's easy to do that.
yeah,
right?
and
It's
like
just-
you would notice too, like I would be in just a bad mood.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember one time, like, this was a while ago, but like things were just hectic. There's a lot of stuff going on. Like we were getting pulled in different directions, and I looked right at you. I'm like, get control, right? And you looked at me like, of what? That's what you said to me. I said everything, not one thing, not this, not that, everything. And it's just so it's like, whatever you have to do, you got to go and beat by yourself, or you have to beat but just get control. Like you are in control.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the truth. Like you know what I mean?
We are, but here's the thing. It's remember we have no manual, so when you're in a bad place and you're not aware, you have nowhere. You're kind of blind.
Yeah, that probably sounded harsh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, no,
but it wasn't coming from a
because
place
it's
of
also-
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It was coming from
Yeah.
just to like kind of like almost like snap her into like a.
Yeah.
So it's just to,
Make
just
her
to give
think
you a
about how
background.
she's thinking. You know?
Yeah. No, that's definitely but you're right. But sometimes it's just hard to do that because it's just like it's overwhelming and it's just like, oh my god, right? Like sometimes you got to do like what you did, like you got to grab somebody and be like, wake the fuck up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I just
Well,
seen her. I've seen her be able
Yeah.
to control the room, and I know how she is when she's on top of her shit. So to me,
Right.
it's like that's not who you are. I
Right.
know who you are. I've seen you. I've seen you in a meeting and calm, cool, collected when we have a nickel. Like truly, man, I've seen it. So like
So that's what I was gonna say.
It's with me, it's different because she can't play not play. I know you're going through shit, but like to me, I want to remind her who she really is. And I tell you this all the time. We talk about this like privately, but like. So I wish that she sees herself all the time how I see her, because like she's like a superhero to me. She came in my life at a time where I was just getting clean. I was 1 month clean when I moved out here, and she gave me the opportunity to paint her house and to give me a couple dollars, give me a place to go, and then eventually she gave me her car to drive back and forth to the gym. So like
That's amazing.
You know, I mean, truly, man. Like,
Yeah,
to me, she's like a superhero.
you
Like,
are.
genuinely.
You're a superhero. I just felt it in my chest.
You feel
yeah,
that?
Yeah,
You feel that?
It's
Like,
amazing.
so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's why I get. So when
Right.
so when I said that to her, it wasn't coming from like, I wasn't trying to be mean, and like I was coming from a place where it's like I know you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So like
right,
that's more
right.
so.
Yeah.
You know.
And like it always is. You know, I can say like what you're doing is all good intentioned, but I think when you're in a place like that fragile, it's hard to like try to help someone piece themselves together, right? It's it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
How you think is like more of how I think too.
Yeah.
Like I know you know who you are, so like it all needs to just get it together. So
Yeah.
I think what was happening, I was letting things distract me, and
It's easy to be distracted.
and like
Very
play
easy.
into my demons, right? So
Yeah.
like I told you about my background, like I was in foster care.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't around. My mom was a drug addict throughout my whole life until I joined the military, and I've been in the military now for going on 13 years, and she's been clean that long. So we have a completely different relationship now than we used to. But things that were happening, that were coming up, were almost like reminding me of just maybe not necessarily the exact situation, but like the feelings, like the unsafeness and the, you know, being out of control or taken advantage of, or, you know, someone being one way right to my face and then like turning around doing the exact opposite of what they just said. Just like things like that were pissing me off.
Yeah.
Cause like I'm very straightforward. I'm very literal. When I deal with people that just basically lie straight to my face, like that was happening, and it was aggravating the shit out of me, and I was letting that control my day. I was letting that control my mood. And then Jordan and I talk about things constantly. Like we're talking about business. We're talking about, you know, the pyramids. We talk about literally everything, anything you could think of, right? And then when this starts to affect me, like my whole being changes, and like that's what he was talking about, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
and I think
you're losing a little bit of control.
exactly.
Right? Like you're not who you
exactly. And then
normally
Jackie saw something, right?
Well, we had a conversation prior to that, and it was like we had a conversation prior to that about, you know, spiritual things.
Yep.
And remember that?
Yep.
And I said, you know, if anybody ever heard what we talk about, they would think we're crazy. You know what I mean? So we got a kind of connection.
sometimes.
Yeah. So there was like a little connection there.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, when I kind of saw you like that a little bit, that I could.
I needed help for sure. Like
Yeah.
I was on autopilot and just suffering and just letting my
it's a matrix.
Yeah.
You just kind of just think this is it. Like sucks.
and
Trapped.
all those old feelings that what would you call it earlier, like the brain paths,
Yeah, the neural
the neural connections were firing
networks. Yeah.
because I thought, or I felt like I was being threatened.
It's already auto built in. It's easy because it's already it's a highway that's already built. So it's what you know. It's your base. It's like when something happens, your threat. I'm going this direction. Yeah.
And you know when that happens
open.
to me too. You because like you can just tell.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I'm just like
And
boom.
then
in that,
trying
in
to
that
make
way.
a different choice, right? So remember, it's intellectual. Like your brain can think. The language of the brain of the mind is thinking. So you could think a certain way, right? But the language of the body is feeling.
Yeah, that's
And
the,
it could
that's
pull
the hard
you
part.
right. So you could. That's why sometimes we're irrational, because we could be like, "Hey, shouldn't be this way," right? Intellectually, like I should do it because it's just better. But your body is so powerfully overwhelming, and it just floods you with these chemicals that it's just this monster that just owns you.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is what we do. We've done it this way. Boom, we're going in this direction. So that's where it takes a tremendous amount of effort if you want to go a different direction in your mind and brain. Like you have to build a different network. You have to build a different highway, and
That's what we're working
it
on.
requires a lot of effort, right? You got to like build it, and it's like you can't go down that path now. You got to not go the other way. Stop here and just deal with it, and then just start building it, and then after you build it, right, put in all that effort. Now guess what, right? Now you have a new pathway.
And you
Yeah.
have to
Now when the same situation arises, it's like, oh, I don't have to go there. Boom, I could just go straight this way, right?
Yep. And in order to do that, you have to stay conscious, which
Yeah.
which was I was not doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
That's the
on
difference.
that autopilot and just
That's what most people
posting.
don't realize is that we're walking around unconscious
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
yeah.
So then, kind of taking everything that you have gone through, have you forgiven any of your past demons?
Okay. So let me talk about this because it will lead into that. So what we've been working on,
Don't
like
deflect. Don't deflect.
I'm not deflecting.
Oh,
I'm
right.
gonna
Oh,
I'm gonna
oh,
answer
oh,
that.
oh.
So I
Got a
have
politician
been
in here.
I have been I have been doing phone calls with Jackie and Omar, and we have been discussing ways to, basically tools to help me get into some type of like routine or ritual, especially if I start to feel like I'm going into autopilot. So meditating has been one of the tools, right? I used to meditate a lot when I was younger, and then I just think that I know specifically an event hit me, and I went back into autopilot and I stopped meditating. So meditating is one of them. Another one is breath work that I've realized helps me more than I even knew was possible. And I think, one of the assignments that you've given me was to meditate and try to just sit and just don't move and see what comes up. And I remember the first few meditations, I told you about the first one, right? So I was just sitting there. I was in the sauna just as it was heating up, and I was just trying to like not move and just breathe. And then all of a sudden I saw this, like, because we've had conversations about like you refer to it as the pit bull.
Yeah,
right?
The beast.
So can you explain that first before I go into the meditation? Because that's a
yeah,
big part of it.
Yeah, okay. So this is how I kind of discovered how to kind of think about this. Because it's all very abstract. So I have to give it a title. I have to give it an identity, right? So actually, I'm going to start here first, and then we'll lead into this, right? So, and I'm going to ask Jordan, because he's new to this, right? So this idea of a choice, right? If you think about what a choice is, right? That's making a decision between two, right? Typically, not really like what you're gonna eat for lunch, just 10 different things, no, but every day we're making micro decisions, and we're making one decision or the other. Or you come into the fork in the road, you have to decide. Have you ever wondered why there are two options when you make a choice?
No, but it is weird because I do always think of, like in my past, I always think of that the fork.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. So when you're making a decision, when you're making a choice, right? You're deciding between it's because there's two selves. If you think about this, right? It's two, and we've actually known this for a long time. And I think about it when, like, I think about Looney Tune cartoons, right? You ever seen the angel and the devil?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you got to decide which self, right? Because if there were only one self, right, you'd always just be making the same decision all the time, right? There'll never be that eternal debate in your head. Why are you debating whether to make one? It's because there's two, right? But now, like, I thought about this even harder before. It's deeper than that, right? So those selves have already made decisions, right? So you're actually not deciding on what to do. You're deciding on which self to be, because those decisions have already been made by those selves, right?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So
it is weird how I always think of, the two different scenarios, and then one scenario is always better than the other.
And here's
right, and like it's weird.
Here's how it goes, right? The selves, right? So there's two selves, right?
Yes.
Think about that. There's always debating going on, one or the other. So these two selves are basically broken down as like a good and a bad, but it's not really that, right? It's really the higher being self that really knows what to do. It's always like making the right choice. It knows the right choice. The other self is more of like the mammalian self, the body, the beast or the pit bull. It's the animal, right? Right. Because if you think about it, like your body is not you, to be honest. Like if I ask Jordan, who's Jordan? Like who are you?
Right.
Tell me anything about it. Who's Jordan?
Want to get philosophical here?
Yeah.
Genuinely, I really don't know.
You don't know,
That's
right?
my answer,
So a lot of people think like, oh, it's this person I have and all these things I have. I'm Jordan. It's me, right? But no, not even Jordan is who you are. It's just a word that your parents gave to you. Yep. It's not who you are, right? And it's not, your body isn't who you are either. It's actually just a borrowed vessel, right? Because if you were your body, you would say, oh, I body, or I arm, right? But it's not. It's my body, like it's my car. Getting into it as a vessel to use, right? Who you are is like deep down inside to the soul, right? Like I'm Jordan. I'm resilient, and I overcome.
That's deep.
And I'm I don't I know what it's like to suffer, but still do the right thing, right? 'Cause that's what I got. Who Jordan is, right? It's an abstract thing of who your being is, right? So the body isn't really who you are, and that's what distracts us, and we think, this reality, this is like me, and that's why people get stuff, they graduate, they get the promotion, they get billions of dollars, and they're still unhappy because they're just looking at everything with their eyes, and it's not that, it's deep inside. When you meditate, that's like the closest place where you can kind of find who you are. But it's hard because we never do it. We were never taught how to look. And the first time you're doing it, it's so hard because you're blind when you close your eyes. It's hard. Like, where the hell do you go?
Right. Yeah.
How do I do this?
Yep.
So it's going to take a tremendous amount of effort, right? It's like a 600-pound fat person going to the gym for the first time. It just takes a lot of work just to get there. And then you got to grind it out, right? But over time, it took a long time for a 600-pound person to get to where they are, right? I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to undo all that, right? But here's the thing. Once you do, like, you're unstoppable, right? You've climbed this mountain, and it's not about being on that mountain, top of the mountain, because it don't mean shit being on top of there, right? Like a billionaire's son could get a helicopter and drop him off, being like, hey, Instagram, look, I'm here. But you climbing that mountain knowing, like, every day, like you climbed the 100 feet and then you turn back, but you came back 1,000 feet and you got through all the bullshit and the journey, right? And you know that you went through hell and you figured it out and you got there. That's who you are. Like you did that, and no one could take it away from you. And that means you could do it again.
Yep.
You guys know Les Brown? He's one of my favorite.
I think
Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker. He's a congressman. He says that if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. The easy thing, which is the mammalian thing, which is I'm going to sit here and just rest and just be comfortable and not spend any energy and watch Netflix and eat whatever I want, right? And do drugs and drink. And it's easy, right? Guess what happens after that, right? It's just hard, right? Like I'm sure like we've done some pretty, it's hard to like try to do the right thing, right? But do you ever like binge watch Netflix or just scroll, right?
Yeah, bro.
It's like, oh yeah, you want, but how do you feel after doing that for 8 hours?
Well rested.
You do. But
Be real, bro.
Yeah,
No,
do you not feel like, oh man, I could have like done something?
I mean, I'm only doing that honestly like after a full day of work.
Right. Okay.
So I'll never take a day.
Right.
just
Oh,
sit
so
in the
you
middle of the
reward
day.
yourself, right?
I mean, I'm just like, I'm getting ready to go fall asleep, and I'll just watch. I've been watching The Office. Basically.
Yeah. Oh, Office is the bad. We love The Office. Okay. I love The Office. But
I'll recite every single.
But I mean,
scene.
like you ever had a day where you're like, oh, I'm gonna I'm gonna do all this stuff and just like be good and have a great productive day, but then get sidetracked and just start scrolling for like 8 hours.
I've
4
done
hours,
that before,
right?
and I feel like
How do you feel?
I feel like shit.
Yeah. You're just like, oh my.
I should have done
Now
something
anxiety
I know
can
what you
kick
mean.
in
Yeah, I know
because it's
what
like
you're saying. Yeah.
I should have done all this stuff. I could have learned the language. I could have like gotten better, and then now I still have to deal with the new stuff that's coming, and it all kind of comes together, right? So if you do what is easy, your life will be hard, right? Because it's easy to do all that easy stuff, right? and then all the weight, it just starts piling on top of you. But if you do it as hard, which is the conscious decision of like, damn, I gotta like, you actually know what to do. Like we don't know what we're supposed to do 5 years from now or how we're gonna get there. But if I ask you, you know exactly the very next move, what is the right one, right? Right. And if you do the right things, right, your life will be easy. Right. So like we're in a day and age where there shouldn't be any 600-pound people, right? There shouldn't exist, right? We're in a day and age where we have all the information we need, right? Like we can access, right? Like, and all it's about is consistency, right? So, like, an out of shape person, all they have to do is go online, pick out a regimen, pick out a diet. It could be anything, as long as you stick to it, right? You're gonna improve, and then that leads you down the right path, and you keep going through forks in the road. Like, okay, I got to what is it called? A plateau. Okay, what do I do here? Boom. All right. Keep pushing, right? But we all know the very next step. But what happens like when we get to the gym, a lot of times, right? We get in our own way.
Yeah.
The emotional feeling mammal, and we were just talking about this the other day. It's actually there to protect you. It's designed to protect you. Because this is the first time in like history that we're like living in abundance, right? All throughout history, we were living in a jungle, in survival. Our body was always on fight or flight, getting ready to be eaten by a lion. But what happens now? We have to face bankruptcy, and we think, oh, that's a lion coming to eat me, and you start to go into this fight or flight. So this is how I realize a pit bull that lives inside of me, right? So one time, and I'm not perfect, right? I'm just saying, hey, you got to be aware, right? One time we were fighting a few months ago, we actually just had one recently, but we're good now. But we're learning. Anyway, I realized this one time, me and her, she said something to me, and it just irked me, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was just like letting it fester, and it just kept playing it in my head, like, oh my God. I'm going to tell you this and that and the other thing, and just, and really what it was stupid. I don't even remember what it was, right? And then the chemicals keep building up, right? You know what I'm talking about. It's a chemical reaction because you feel it, right? Yeah. And then one time, and then I just woke up and I'm like, why are you getting like this, right? Why are you feeling like this? You are about to open your mouth and just unload all this and just bring this unnecessary heartache. Yeah. Right. And what it was like my animal self. It just wanted to fight so bad. Right. And it was like a pit bull. And what happens, what we know how to do a lot is how to bite our tongue. Right. Like you get so mad, but you're like, oh man, I'm not gonna say anything because it's gonna just start all this. It's like this pit bull that just got wild. It just got all and went to go bite, right? But you held it. As the master, you're holding it. But the problem is, that's not enough, because what's going on is there's a conflict between mind and body, right? Intellectually, you're like, he shouldn't be doing this, but your body's just going, right? It's just barking. It's still going. And what happens is, like, you're praying that you don't let go, because what's going to happen is it's going to go and it's going to bite somebody. And then who takes the blame? Who's at fault, right? Yeah. You're gonna be at fault, regardless, right? Somehow it doesn't matter how bad someone behaved or whatever they said to you, right? And innocent bystander gets bitten, and then it just causes all this issues, right? So, although it's the first step, which takes effort, right? Like you gotta hold that pit bull by the leash and just, oh, okay, I got it. Okay, but what you gotta do is you gotta get in front of it, and you gotta take control over it. You gotta say, hey, calm down. Get your ass in check. Get in the cage. And you ain't coming out until you are under control, right? Because what's been happening is throughout our whole lives is this pit bull's been kind of running the show. It's emotional, right? It's been running the whole show. And the master, who's the mind, has been following the pit bull, right? And again, we're in a day and age where before it was a good leader because it needed to like fight or run, right? But not anymore, right? It just causes problems now when we behave like that. That's what happens in the hood or low income areas, right? It's just everybody's like an animal, right? They're surviving.
Yeah, they don't,
It's hard.
Don't care about. Yeah, they don't care about holding it back or nothing.
It's hard. It's hard to live in, and I get it, but that's what's happening. Is that they're driven by their animal self, right? So, and since the master it hasn't really been awake, right? And that pit bull is what's been helping you survive, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you can't lead. I don't trust you. You don't know what you're doing. You're awake 99%. I mean, you're asleep 99% of the time. I'm leading, right? And so you gotta like, no, calm down. I need you to listen to me. I need you to get in the cage. I need you to calm down. And if you outlast it, and this is like through practice, you got to practice it. You conscious effort. It takes a lot to be able to do this, right? One of the places you can do it is through meditating. When you calm it down and it just calms, right? It gives you back all that energy. So when you were going through life in fear and uncertainty and making decisions that way, right? Which maybe led you to making not the best decision. Now that you took back this energy, right? Now it gives you the strength to go into the unknown where it's scary, but where all the opportunities are. Because if you keep doing the known, which is what the body wants, it wants to stay with the familiar because it knows this is where we don't have to be scared, but we still are, right? Because we're neurotic.
And then nothing changes.
Nothing changes. You live the same day every day, making the same choices, right? That's when you challenge yourself and you try to do something that's difficult. What you get better, you get stronger, you become more confident, more control, right? So now, once you get it under control, and this is where I was thinking, like, oh, this is how it gets better, right? It's like now you have control back. Now you have the energy back. Now, when you have this pit bull who was just a vicious thing, right? Which is necessary, by the way. Like, we do need it, right? We need a pit bull, right? Inside of us, all of us do, but we're using it at the wrong time, right? We're using it to attack a loved one. We're using it to scream at our children. We're using it to like blame everybody, right? But we do need that pit bull when we run into a murderer, right? When we run into a rapist, when we run into a pedophile, right? Like, we need that person to come out and just, that's when you say, hey, okay, you know what? You see that person? Go get them. Tear them apart. But we're allowing them to tear just anybody apart because we just bored or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So now when you have it under control, as you could see, once that pit bull is nice and calm, you're like, okay, we're good. You're ready to come out. As you can see, a dog that is, what do you call it? Homeless dog. Forgetting the term.
Stray.
A stray dog, right? They're very neurotic and vicious, and they bite at anything, right? Versus a well-trained dog, right? That's disciplined, right? Now, mind and body, master and pet work together.
Yeah.
Joint, right? That can help. Now you're in a new autopilot.
Yeah. So
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when I started meditating, it took a little while because like at first I was just kind of sitting there and trying to like just see what would come up, and then I'm very literal, right? So we talked about the pit bull and like the beast, and for sure I connected with that. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely survival mode, letting my pit bull lead, and just like being neurotic when it comes to like the way I let my brain just go when it comes to certain things.
And it's easy to just go to that.
Exactly, just let my brain go. But when I started to like really sit there and like I started to see things like vividly. And it didn't happen right away, but it did eventually, vividly. I would see, it was like a werewolf version of myself. And then the first meditation, so I used to do ballet when I was little. Like, the only reason I remember that is because I saw a picture once, and I was in like a tutu. But I saw this little girl. I think it was myself, and she was doing ballet. And a lot of times when I meditate, I go back to that. I don't know why. It's just like this little girl doing ballet, and it gets me emotional. But anyway, so I saw this little girl doing ballet, and she was just going, 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 and then all of a sudden, this big werewolf beast, like huge, like gigantic, just started basically chasing her and slamming their fists down. But she just didn't notice, and she was just dancing around. So like, the fist would come down, it would break the ground, and she would just be like dancing around, completely unaware of the beast. And I'm like, holy! And then like after that meditation, I was like, oh shit. And I told Jordan about that one. And then as I continued to meditate, it started to evolve. And I started to see I guess my future self, very peaceful. You know,
The monk version.
The monk version of me, like the version that I want to be. Like I want to be peaceful. I want to be calm. I want that's what I've always wanted, in control. That's always what I've always wanted to be, that way. And then I remember just staring at this very dark area with like a light, kind of like a stage light almost. And have you ever seen Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
When the beast comes out for the first time, that literally happened, but it was the beast version of myself, and it was like this werewolf, super strong, like, but it was, you know, sweaty, dirty, like it just was like this
A mess.
Scary thing. And myself in my meditation, I was staring at it, and it was starting to come out into the light, and then it would go back into the dark, and then it would come back out. It was like stalking me almost, right? And I would just stay there, and then all of a sudden, it came out like right in my face, and it was just snarling and just like sweaty and just scary as fuck. Like I could see the teeth and like the drool, like in my meditation. Like this was super vivid.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you know, I would. These were over a few sessions, and then the next session, I remember that the same type of thing happened, but then it started speaking to me, and it started saying like just like negative shit, like that I would say to myself, like, who the fuck do you think you are, like, you're nothing, like just mean shit. And then
you can't do this.
Yeah.
Parents' fault.
Yep, exactly. Like, who are you? Like, who do you think you are? Like, I'm in control. Like,
right.
Like, as it's walking back and forth, and then it evolved into it screaming at me, like saying, "How fucking dare you try to get rid of me?" I was, get me emotional.
Yeah. It's losing control, and it's like really trying your body knows you so well. It'll use every trick in the book to get you to get your turn.
It would say like, I fucking was there for you when you needed me.
Yeah.
And like just saying like crazy shit, and like the person that was staring back at it, which was me, the calm version, was just taking it and just super calm, and it was like, I want to be that person, right? So as it's screaming at me, just saying like, how dare you try to get rid of me, basically, right? Then eventually it evolved into like this calm version of myself. I don't know, like standing up to it, I guess. And then like not saying anything though, just standing there. And like this beast version would start to like kind of shrink. And then start like breathing, but heavily, like almost like not defeated, but more so like surrendering, you know. And it would shrink into this like smaller animal, like dog or whatever. And then I would like start to bathe it, so, like, and then I like brought it to my side and like acknowledged that I did need it.
Yeah.
So I'm just working on that.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm gonna get
It's all right.
emotional,
It's all right.
but
I'm getting emotional.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, it's you know, like I said, remember I told you like one of the best things quotes I ever heard was like from a Marvel movie, and I love Marvel, but you know, some stuff I don't take seriously except this one thing, which is, you know, one guy said that, I love you because you've taught me how to defeat my demons, but she replied and said, you can't defeat your demons, you can only learn to live above them, right? Because they're necessary.
yeah.
Right? Because without it, you got no protection, because that's who's going to really protect you.
Yeah.
But since it's been doing it for so long, and now that you're in this river of change, right? It's trying to like get its hands back on the wheel, right? It's trying to be the leader, because in a way it doesn't trust you either, right?
Yeah.
Because you haven't led in a long time, or your mastermind, whatever we call
Yeah,
it.
because you could see yourself like reliving through that meditation.
Oh yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like when you like you just like it's almost like you're living through it, right? Like reliving it. That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would start to meditate, and I would go back to the beast and stuff, and then I'd work through that. One time actually, I know we talked about like he would always say you need to do a cold plunge, and I'm like, fuck that. Like I fucking hate cold water.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate going into the beach water. Like I just can't.
Omar tells you one time, and she started a cold plunge.
Then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
then
The next day, it's just
well then
Because there's got to be purpose, right? Because if not, cold plunging is actually
Yeah.
crazy. Like, why would you do it? But
So
yeah,
we
go
talked
ahead,
about-
and I'll explain why.
we talked about how like in the shower
2
like,
years, Omar. 2 years.
like after the shower you just turn the cold water on and you stay there. So I started doing that.
Yeah.
First time I did it, I'm not kidding, so like it sucked, right? But
Yeah.
then after about 30, I told myself I'm gonna, after my shower, at least once a day, I'm gonna shut the hot water off, turn the cold water all the way on, and I'm gonna take 30 deep breaths.
Yeah. Okay.
So the
good.
first 20, 26 breaths suck.
Yeah.
And then after that, the first time I did it, I remember at like 26 or 27th breath, I started laughing.
Oh yeah.
Because I was
yeah.
like, okay, like it
Yeah.
just started, it stopped
You're
being
in
weird.
the unknown
Yeah.
and overcame it, and now you're like, oh, this
Yep.
is like,
Yeah,
what
And
was
then-
I so afraid of?
But when you're like the truth is, like when you're in an ice bath, like you're cold as shit for about a minute,
Yeah.
and then you're numb.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, you do go no. Yeah,
You get
yeah,
numb, man. And like
yeah.
and if you're controlling your breathing, right? If you're moving and your chest is always gonna, but if you're able to calm your breathing and relax,
Yeah.
then it's in 1 minute you don't feel anything. But it's when people who move and who breathe heavy and the water's moving around and when they get off, that's when the stuff gets all.
Right, it does. And you know what? That's the physical part of it, right? That, but like the reason I did it, and when I was explaining to G about it, was like the mental part of it, because really it does suck. It's like, why would I do this, right? But the reason I did it, right, and shit was there when I had her watch me, because I want to make sure I don't drown in it from getting numb,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Which is, and every single shower I take a cold shower, and no matter what, it always shows up and it says, "Don't do it this time. Do it next
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Don't do it." And I look for it now. Remember, it's always gonna show up, and I look for it, and it says, "Don't do it now," and I'm like, "Oh, there you are." No, I'm gonna. Who's the master? You ever seen that that movie, The Last Dragon? Remember The Last
I
Dragon?
don't think so.
No, okay, all right, yeah, it's really good. But he says, "Who's the man?" So, who's in control, right? Like, the reason you don't want to do this because that mammal body doesn't want you to do it. It's just it's cold and it doesn't feel good, and it's just all feeling based, right? But that's where you can practice having control, right? Because it's always gonna show up. And when I took that ice bath, it was just like I felt it screaming. You know, it wasn't like I was.
That's what she was about to say too. like,
Yeah.
having-
I wasn't like motivated and really in a sense I was, but what was more overwhelming was the like, oh my god, this is gonna suck. Why are you doing this? Like, this is crazy. What good is it? Do it tomorrow. All the excuses came up. Like, oh, what if, you're just silly. You're being silly. Just everything that could try to persuade you is gonna come up, and it shows up during these hard tests. Meditating is one of them, and I meditate 42 minutes every morning, and every time I'm about to, it always shows up. It's like, why are you gonna do this? I got all this stuff I gotta do, and it just skip today. And it's like, no, we're gonna do this, and you're gonna listen to me, right?
Yeah.
Who's in control? And then it calms. It used to take a while, but now it calms down in like 10 seconds, even before I get started. I'm like in control,
Yeah.
right? And cold plunge did that for me. Cold showers.
I was one time I almost forgot, and I was going to turn the hot water off, like just the water off.
Yeah.
And I'm not, so I'm super literal. So like I don't know, it just like the beast's face popped up in my consciousness, I guess, laughing.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like I was about to not. I told
get away with
myself
it.
I was gonna do it.
Yeah.
I was about to not do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it just boom, and I was like, oh fuck no, and I fucking just
Yeah.
you know. So it's just it does that. That has helped me a lot because, like I said, I hate being cold.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's not about the cold, right?
it's not. No,
It's about
I'm in control.
practicing.
Yeah.
The practice, right? Who's in good, and it's hard to get that practice somewhere, right? So hard to be cold plunges is definitely one.
Yeah,
of them.
Kobe had a great quote where it wasn't. I'm paraphrasing it, but he was something where he would sign a contract before the summer, and he would what he's gonna do, how many workouts he's gonna have, all the sessions, and he would sign the contract himself.
Yeah.
He write it himself, sign it himself, and the contract is signed, so it's not negotiable.
Yeah.
Right. So any type of workout he had to do, whether it be 4 or 6 workouts or whatever he did
Right.
for that particular day, there wasn't even like a question in his mind whether or not, oh, maybe not today.
Yeah.
Like it was already negotiated in his mind, and I think that's such a powerful tool to have.
It is.
Like,
yeah.
and everyone could do that, right? Because he probably mastered that skill for years and years of, you know.
Yeah, and it's even better because you have it in writing, right? Like you can look at it and be
Yeah,
like, hey,
I think that's really
who's in
powerful. Yeah,
control? Yeah, who's in
That's why
control?
you should get a whiteboard.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I have one in my room. I have a whiteboard in my room.
Whiteboard? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. We
She
got
made
one.
fun of me.
We got one. No, because the way she uses the whiteboard is funny because she'll write it and she'll be like, okay, before I leave, I'm going to take a picture of it. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Good for you.
How much time we have left? Can we take one more
Wire
break?
swap and what? I saw
Can we take a break,
Oh, yeah,
wire swap,
Okay.
and then we'll finish it up?
Oh,
All right.
no, I don't want you to break.